My mom threw me out for her new family, then asked me for college money for. My own mother kicked me out of our home for her new family. Then, years later, when I finally found success, she had the audacity to demand college money for the very siblings she chose over me. The betrayal still stings, a raw wound in my past. Let me take you back to the beginning. My mom gave birth to me when she was only 20. My biological father? He was never in the picture. She told me he never wanted children, and since they'd only been dating a few months when she got pregnant, she gave him an out, which he promptly took. She claimed the bitterness of their breakup meant she never demanded child support, and he certainly never offered. For both of them, simply never talking again was incredibly convenient. Thankfully, my grandparents were her rock. Their unwavering support allowed her to finish school and get a job. As I grew up, she dated a few men, but when I was around 8, she started seeing Harry, a coworker. They dated for over 3 years before getting married. Harry and I weren't exactly close, but we tolerated each other enough to coexist in the same house. Then, for years after they married, my mom announced she was pregnant. Everyone was overjoyed, and yes, that included me. Looking back, I probably should have seen the writing on the wall, but I was just a kid, naive and completely wrapped up in the idea that my mother would always be there for me. She'd faced so many challenges raising me alone. I truly hoped she wouldn't leave me now. Even though she'd already started to distance herself after marrying Harry, and we were slowly drifting apart, I convinced myself it was just a phase, that things would get better. During her pregnancy, I tried my best to be encouraging, to be present. But with every attempt, she seemed to grow angrier at my presence. To avoid upsetting her, I tried to make myself scarce, to disappear into the background. But it seems I wasn't inconspicuous enough. 6 months after the twins were born, my mom and Harry sat me down for a serious conversation. They told me they couldn't keep me in the house anymore because they now had 2 children to look after. I had just turned 16, still a juvenile, so they couldn't legally throw me out without consequences. Instead, they tried to manipulate me, highlighting the financial burden of providing for a big family on their meager income. It was ridiculous. We'd been living comfortably. 2 web engineers, 2 adults, a teenager, and 2 babies. It wasn't that hard to maintain. No, it was painfully clear they just wanted me gone. I didn't want to leave, not then. So, I desperately tried to offer solutions. If money was the problem, I'd get a job, I told them. But my mother, with a coldness that still shocks me, said she wanted to save money and resources for the children who deserved it more. She stressed that they deserved to stay with them more than I did, not that they needed it more. That was it. That was the moment I knew. I had to leave. It was obvious no one wanted me there, and I had enough dignity to understand I was utterly unwanted. They hadn't technically evicted me, but they had certainly nudged me out in the most effective, cruel way possible. I felt like I had no other choice. That very day, I walked out, without them even telling me where I should go. Their plan had worked. I headed straight to my grandparents' house. They were heartbroken by my mother's actions, but they wanted to stay in the twins' lives, so they didn't cut her off. At 16, I found a part-time job. My grandparents were older, and I knew I couldn't rely on them financially anymore. I'd see my mom and Harry occasionally when they visited my grandparents with the kids, but they rarely asked about me. They were formal, almost as if they didn't miss me at all. In fact, they seemed happier without me around. It hurt to see my mother's irritability seemingly vanish, but I knew there was nothing I could do. I lived with my grandparents until it was time for college. My mom wasn't involved then either. My grandparents weren't healthy enough to help me move into my dorm, so I relied on friends. My mom and Harry declined to help, choosing instead to preserve money for the twins' future. I had to take out a student loan, and thankfully, one of my uncles agreed to co-sign, as long as I promised he'd never be responsible for the costs. I worked throughout college, not just to stay on top of payments, but to get a head start financially. My mother and I barely spoke. Only my grandparents were there when I graduated. My mom didn't even bother to congratulate me. To avoid burdening my elderly grandparents, I started working and lived independently after college. The first few years were tough, not much money, but I paid for groceries, utilities, rent, chipped away at my debt, and even started saving for the future. You could say I was living on a shoestring budget. By the way, if you're still with me, make sure to hit subscribe. More unbelievable stories are coming. Fortunately, things finally started to look up. It took time, but I climbed the ranks in my organization. Considering how little help I ever received, I am incredibly proud of how far I've come. Now, I'm in a rather comfortable position. Then, out of nowhere, my mother discovered I was earning a good living. We hadn't spoken in years, but at almost 33, I now hold a senior management role at the same company where I started my career. About 4 months ago, I got a big promotion. I kept it quiet, only a select few knew. I did, however, tell my uncle, the one who co-signed my loan, as a thank you. From what I gather, he recently met my mom and Harry at a family gathering and, with good intentions I'm sure, encouraged her to reach out and congratulate me. It didn't work. She still didn't contact me. In the end, my mother found out anyway and, just recently, showed up at my home with Harry, insisting on talking. Let me stress, I hadn't spoken to her since I started college. I blocked her everywhere, cut her out of my life, seeing no point in hoping she'd change. She didn't seem negatively impacted, and honestly, I doubt she even noticed. Only my grandparents, who knew I disliked talking about her, stayed in contact and carefully avoided the topic. I didn't really keep in touch with my uncle either, so I was completely unaware that my mom and Harry had been facing serious financial difficulties for a few years. I only found out when they arrived on my doorstep, detailing how bad things had gotten. It was wishful thinking, I know, but the only reason I even allowed them inside was a faint hope they might be coming to make amends. They started by saying they'd heard from my uncle about my promotion, how I was one of the youngest in such a prominent position. Instead of congratulations, they seemed surprised I'd kept it from them. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was shocked they expected me to communicate with them at all, let alone share good news. They also expressed disappointment that I'd shut them out of my life, claiming it was only because they had prioritized their children over me. They maintained I should have been old enough to comprehend their rearranged priorities and not harbor resentment as a teenager. They actually said I should have supported their decisions instead of running off to my grandparents. I'm still not sure why they thought I would ever agree with their choice to expel me from my own home. They tried to gaslight me, to make me the bad guy for being angry that they'd ejected me so they could have time alone with their children. That's how they began our reunion after all these years. Then, without even giving me a chance to explain my side, they launched into how tough the past several years had been. They'd started their own company, but it failed spectacularly, resulting in huge losses. Now, they were trying to recover and desperately needed money because the twins were nearing college age. That's when it clicked. I saw exactly why they were there. They needed financial assistance. They wasted no time getting straight to the point, even trying to soften the blow by claiming I could make it up to them by paying for my siblings' schooling. The sheer audacity. They were upset I hadn't contacted them despite doing well. Yet they were trying to frame it as if they were doing me a favor by allowing me to pay for the college education of 2 children I barely knew anymore. I was astounded. I told them immediately that I wouldn't be doing that. It was utterly disrespectful of them to think they could coerce me. I became furious, reminding them that they were the very reason I had to work through college and pay for my own education. They wanted to save for their real children, who they believed deserved it more than I did. They had refused to provide me with financial support back then. I assured them they had absolutely no right to expect anything from me now, especially financial support, since I had never questioned their choice to put the twins first. I had simply left them alone. They no longer had the right to demand I communicate with them. Instead of trying to emotionally control me, I pointed out that they could now use the very money they had conserved for the children who deserved it to pay for the twins' college bills. I had nothing else to say, so I asked them to leave. I was stupid to invite them inside my house in the first place, assuming they might have come to express regret for their past treatment of me. They became enraged and tried to shift the blame. As I insisted they leave, they informed me that I wasn't innocent in this either. In their twisted protection, they said I was overenthusiastic, overinvolved, and frequently irritable while we all lived together. I was only a teenager, desperately trying to keep in touch with my family as they drifted away from me. I couldn't believe that was a true issue they had with me. Then they had the audacity to claim I was no better than them for denying their request. They said I was forgetting all the years my mother had taken care of me and raised me alone. They said this was my opportunity to make it up to her and my siblings, but I was being rude and unappreciative instead. I was a child at the time, so I thought it was absurd they would even bring that up. Even if I had wanted to, I couldn't have chosen not to rely on them. Furthermore, it wasn't like they were helping me. They pushed me out of the house and effectively forced me out as soon as they believed I was mature enough to manage things on my own. For the following 18 years, they refused to acknowledge my existence. I was still in shock that they had the gall to expect me to aid them now, as if I owed them something, even after everything that had happened. During the dispute, things became incredibly personal and ugly. Finally, I threatened to call the police if they didn't leave my property. My mother, in a last-ditch effort, reminded me of all the sacrifices she had made when I was younger, ostensibly because she wanted to be a good mother, before they finally departed after more arguments. She then declared that I had been ungrateful, that the one time she had expected me to sympathize with her predicament and allow her to put other people before myself, I was now portraying her as the villain, rather than the other way around. This whole interaction bothered me deeply. I struggled to figure out if I was to blame, if I'd been expecting too much from my mother, or if she was simply deceiving me. I decided to post on Reddit to get some unbiased perspectives. I just had to ask, AITA for not paying for my half-sibling's college tuition just because my stepdad and estranged mother are having financial difficulties? A quick note on my uncle. Even though he had excellent intentions, I reminded him that what he did was wrong and unacceptable. His actions undoubtedly had a negative effect. I wouldn't be in this predicament if he hadn't shared my life with my mother and disclosed my contact details without my consent. He apologized excessively, stating that he was unaware of their financial difficulties and that he had no idea my mother would respond in this manner. He admitted that he had no business telling my mother about my life, and that if we had wanted to get back together, we would have done so without his help. Since his heart was in the right place, I don't intend to cut him out of my life. I would have been much more angry if he had meant something different. He simply made an error. Besides, it was because of him that I was initially able to attend college. He was the only person who was prepared to assume the responsibility of co-signing my loan application. If you think about it, I might not be in this situation at all if it weren't for him. I made sure to let him know that what he did wasn't appropriate, since I don't want to come across as unappreciative, but I'm also not a doormat. Whatever I did was fair enough, and I believe I found the ideal balance. We're doing great together, and I won't hold anything against him because I needed this resolution somehow. I also discussed my mom's recent struggles with my grandparents. They believe I'm correct and have promised to make an effort to persuade her to change her mind. I realized that they didn't want to lose touch with their other grandchildren, which is why they have remained in contact with my mom. They understand the struggles my mom's family is going through, but they don't think it's right or fair to put me through this. That's their position on the issue, and I believe it's reasonable enough. First update. Ever since we last spoke, which was nearly 9 days ago, my mother has taken it upon herself to remind me of all she did for me growing up. She probably sends me an email every other day to make me feel like I owe her something. It's not like she gave me a favor by raising me alone. She was legally required to take care of me, so I don't really understand her point. She only reared me when it was convenient for her. She and her spouse decided to expel me as soon as I started to cause them trouble, citing the need to save money for the twins and their future. Now that we're in the future and the twins are adults, I believe they should rely on themselves rather than wasting time trying to manipulate and guilt-trip me. Although I had been ignoring her emails, I made the decision to reply a few days ago. I explained to her all I had written in my essay. She didn't take it well, as expected, and labeled me ungrateful once more. I just informed her that calling me names would not alter the truth, and that I no longer wanted to have any contact with her because she had been a bad mother. I blocked her email account after that, but she made a new one to continue to annoy me. Since she never did the same for me, I blocked that one as well, and I'll keep doing so until she understands that I'm not here to mope about her. To be honest, I'm glad we're finally having this discussion because I think it will end quickly and I'll have the necessary closure. The only reason I welcomed them into my house and talked to them that day was because I was still clinging to the hope that perhaps they had changed, that perhaps they were here to congratulate me and make amends. However, speaking with them made me realize that they are just not the type of individuals who are able to experience regret, guilt, or shame. I've fully given up on ever making amends with them after it once again made me realize how self-centered and cunning they are. Second update. My mother's appearance at my place of employment earlier today was, I believe, the most bizarre thing she has ever done. Fortunately, I wasn't working today, so she departed really fast and didn't succeed in her endeavor. I was feeling a little under the weather, so I decided to take the day off, and I'm so happy I did. She would have definitely thrown a fit or done anything to make me look foolish if I'd been present. The receptionist called to inform me that my mom had arrived, wanting to see me and refusing to go despite being told that I wasn't there. I learned the truth when they put her on the phone with me. I firmly told her that I was at home, even though I was already rather anxious about what she might do. She was informed that if she attempted anything at my place of employment, I would sue her until she would be too ashamed to send her children to college. I did my best to sound threatening, so I believe it truly frightened her. She agreed to depart right away provided I met her in person, so it must have worked. I reminded her that she couldn't afford a lawsuit at the moment, and informed her that she wasn't in a position to be making demands. I also mentioned that my employer would not think twice about suing her if the situation worsened, which would be a very different scenario because they wouldn't be as forgiving as I'd been. She'd be better off just going out in silence. I didn't get any more calls or notifications regarding the event, so I guess she left. After giving the phone back to the receptionist, I realized I can't afford for this to happen again because that was undoubtedly a near call. I've made the decision to speak with a lawyer to find out what precautions I may take. She hasn't threatened me directly, so I'm not sure if this is enough to get a restraining order, but I still want to speak with the attorney to discuss my alternatives. I just have to hope that this experience was unpleasant enough for her to think about leaving me alone. Until then, Update 3. I suppose I don't need to consider filing a restraining order anymore, since I'm very certain we now have grounds for one. Last week, when my mother arrived at my place of employment, I was able to persuade her to leave. However, in light of this week's events, I believe that a restraining order against her needs to be issued for everyone's safety. A few days ago, when I got home from work, she was waiting outside my door. I informed her right away that I didn't want to argue and that I would call the police if she didn't leave. She practically raced at me and threw me to the ground, sending my phone flying out of my hands as I was ready to dial. She cursed at me and blamed me for everything that had gone wrong in her life while she attempted to beat me up. It took me a while to react since I was so taken aback by her insane conduct. However, because I consistently work out and am much younger than her, it was simple for me to overwhelm her when I did. Fortunately, all the shouting had alerted my neighbors to the problem and caused them to call the police. They even came to my aid and restrained my mother as we awaited the arrival of the cops. I made the decision to file charges when the police eventually arrived. She is currently in a lot of trouble. In addition, I've discussed this with my attorney and requested a restraining order against her. I've been informed that Harry has taken the children and moved in with his parents. I'm not sure if he intends to come back anytime soon. He apparently challenged her about her behavior after saving her, informing her that she couldn't continue acting in this manner. She also got into a fight with him, which seems to mean she's really lost it. I believe she finds it difficult to believe that I'm doing well in life, but in all honesty, she is to blame for her own issues. I will not be sorry for her. I'll have the restraining order in place soon, and since I'm making more money, I've already started thinking about moving into a larger home. Now seems like the ideal moment, and I'm going to start exploring my alternatives. Being linked to someone like that is embarrassing, so I sincerely hope my mother receives the support she needs and learns to behave normally. She has also been nasty to my grandparents, who have told me they no longer want to be around her. The only person she can blame for everyone avoiding her is herself. Anyway, I'm not worried about it anymore. This whole ordeal has been a painful lesson in family, betrayal, and self-worth. What would you have done in my place? Have any of you ever had to cut off a parent like this? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to know.